let's turn to the issue at hand of rating agencies. That's what this whole session was about. You've said that rating agencies' models are threatened. You've said they're not bulletproof as they were 10 years ago. You still hold a 13% stake in Moody's, which you've been selling off quarter by quarter. Are rating agencies still an attractive investment?
Well, they may be and they may not be. It depends on what comes out of hearings like this and the legislative process. They had a bulletproof franchise, and they still have an unusual franchise. And the question is whether it gets changed in some material way, and that the only way it will get changed is by some kind of governmental action, and I don't know whether that's coming or not.
Do rating agencies and the model that they operate under need to change, Warren?
Well, I think they've generally done a fairly good job, but I think they're limited in what they can do. I do not follow rating agencies' ratings. I come to my own conclusions about credit, but I don't follow stock pickers' recommendations either, or equity recommendations. I think they have some utility, but I don't think anyone should think that a rating of, say, AA today means it's going to be AA 10 years from now.
Where's the social utility in rating agencies? And, Charlie Munger talks about, and you talk about social utility a lot, and the CEO of Moody's just said in there, well, we give these ratings to the public for free. But what they also did is not just Moody's, Fitch and S&P and rating agencies across the country rated absolute junk with the highest possible rating they could.
If you look at the record in mortgage-backed securities rating, it's a disaster. If you look at the record generally on corporates and municipals, the ratings haven't been bad over the years. I mean, the AAAs have behaved better than the AAs better than the A's, and so on. They're far from perfect, but they have been better than somebody that doesn't know anything about it. And the one advantage they have is if you just take insurance companies, if they could invest in anything they pleased, you would have some buccaneers get into that business, take other people's money, and go and who knows what they would do with it. So there is some utility in providing a check in regulated industries on what managers do with the funds under their control that belong to other people.
I mean, you've said this is disastrous, how the rating agencies and many others, you said, including yourself, missed the housing crisis. Can you chalk it all up to a mistake, Warren, or was there, as Phil Angelides, who led the commission, he said today, it was a toxic brew of corporate non-responsibility, the people in charge?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure, who on the panel in 2004 was saying we're in a housing bubble. I mean, I wasn't saying it, so I'm not pointing the finger. Right. But who was doing it? And if they did it early, they became Cassandras that everybody laughed at. But if you look at history, we should put John Paulson and Michael Burry maybe in charge of the next regulatory agency because they called it. But that doesn't mean they'll call it next time. I mean, when a bubble really gets going, when the internet bubble was underway, get out of the way because it was going to run right over you. And you had companies selling for tens of billions of dollars that were valueless. So when people think they smell easy money and they've seen rising prices sort of justify it in the past, and your neighbor who's got 20 points less of IQ than you is getting rich because he's doing these things, it gets very tempting to go along with the crowd.
You faced some questions in the hearing, Warren, and honestly some heat about your responsibility, being a 13% stakeholder in Moody's. What do you think your responsibility is when it comes to a company like this?
Well, I don't think I can manage Moody's, and I think that Moody's generally, I think they were way off on the real estate bubble, and I think that Congress was, and I think Freddie and Fannie were, and I think the media was, and you just go up and down the line. 300 million Americans thought house prices couldn't really collapse. And we were all wrong. And I think they were no better than the rest of us.
You were a major advocate, and still are, of the government coming in at the height of the financial crisis, bailing out the firms that needed to be bailed out, keeping us all from the brink. Are you a believer in the government stepping in, as Senator Al Franken has proposed, when it comes to the rating agencies and having the government assign rating agencies to different firms and their products?
I'm not sure how that would work. I mean, I have no reason to think that would improve the system, no.
Might it get in the way?
I just don't know. I mean, I'm not sure whether you'd have 20 rating agencies and somebody in Washington spinning a wheel, as to which one gets assigned. I don't know of any institution I can think of to set up that will rate things better than Moody's and Standard & Poor's. I don't use their ratings, though. I think I can do a better job in certain selected cases, not across the board, just occasionally I can do something better. But in the end, one of the great rating agencies, in a certain sense, the two of them were Freddie and Fannie. They guaranteed 40% of the mortgages in the country, and they were rating those mortgages, and they had all kinds of data. Yeah, so I think finger pointing is, got to be a little careful with it.
Maybe not the most useful thing.